Do you have anything with the boundaries on there that you found?
Yeah,
I think we should read that.
okay. The pros and the cons.
Mm-hmm. Can you send that to me quickly? So at least I have it on this phone.
Three, two, one. Check it out.
Yo, what it do?
What it do? Okay, you're saying the same thing basically. What it do out there, folks.
What's up, everybody?
Everyone in Facebook and YouTube land, thank you so much for joining us on this yet another Friday night.
Another Friday night.
Yeah,
all
we're
the 7-day Adventists, happy Sabbath.
Happy Sabbath.
If the sun is
Shabbat.
set in your
What is it?
territory.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yeah, never mind. I'm about to say something in some other language, and that was so not the right thing. Yeah, so happy Friday to those who don't celebrate anything other than the fact that it's the weekend and all things non-work. Hopefully you would have shut down all things that relates to work, that's work related, and you'll be focusing on whether it's family or yourself, right? Essentially. So we're excited to be in this space with you tonight. I already see the comments coming in from Rodney. What's up, Rodney? I don't know why the comments are coming up here on our screen, but nevertheless, I got you.
Yo, let me just say this to Ecamm Live. I reached out to you today about this issue, this problem. Y'all are supposed to be analyzing it and getting back to us. So I'm going to send you the chat log so that y'all can see that I'm not making this up.
And I'm sure your voice will be heard.
Good.
As you are raising your voice. Rodney says, good evening, Calisaris and everyone. Bon Sabbat. Bon Sabbat. That is Creole, right? Is that Creole? I think that's
French?
Creole, or is it French?
I don't know.
I don't know. So
That's
if you
good.
can clarify for us, Rodney, that would be that would be cool. That would be cool. So yeah, I hope you all had a really good week. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna keep it real. I like to keep it a buck here. This week has been weaking. I get so weak. Yeah, my week has been weaking.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All
I
right.
don't know where that came from, but
You got the singing spirit tonight.
oh man, I probably do. I probably need to sing my sorrows, not sorrows, but sing my, I don't know.
What's the other song? I'm trading my shame. I'm lifting it up for the joy of the Lord.
I'm lifting it up.
I don't know. I don't know the words. I just always hear it when they sing it at church, the Israel Houghton song.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think it's I'm lifting it up for the joy of the Lord. I think it's I'm trading my sorrows. I'm trading my shame. I'm laying it down for the joy of the Lord.
Boom,
It's
boom,
laying it down, not lifting it up.
All right, if you say so.
Anyway, you lift me up. Sorry, I feel like singing tonight.
Yo, sing for the people.
No, I'm not singing in that way. Not singing in that way, like I'm about to sing a solo or something. But it's funny that it feels like, like I feel like I'm becoming one of those people. I know someone like that. I call her Jukebox. Actually, one of my best friends. She pretty much has a song for like if we're talking about something. She will be on she will have a song for it.
Yo, that's how I am with hip hop. Back in the day. Yo, shout out to the 50th birthday of hip hop.
Yes, that was so cool.
The YouTube.
The YouTube, I think it was
in Yankee
Stadium. Yeah, that was cool. That brought back a whole lot of memories for sure.
The 90s were definitely dope.
90s was where it's at.
Lauryn Hill came through.
Yes, that was a nice surprise.
That was a nice surprise.
Because I think she's probably my favorite MC.
Yo,
hands down.
She's one of the dopest, one of the realest to do it.
She is. All right, so Norma Hunt, good night, Sister Hunt.
Yo, shout out.
Nicole Mills, shout out to you, girl. Good to see you. Mr. Othenio. I know I'm probably jacking up your name.
Shout out to watching us on YouTube.
Bless up, family.
Yo, bless up. Yo. Can I do this quick plug? Yo.
Okay.
Can y'all just subscribe to us on YouTube?
Okay. You do that.
It ain't gonna cost you nothing. You just slide over to YouTube and just hit the subscribe button. That helps us with the algorithms, and that really helps us get our message out. So if you enjoy our show, if you like the content, then share it with your family and your peeps and just hit a subscribe. That's it. Free. It costs you nothing. Free 99. Carlene plus Jamie.
All right. What's also pretty cool is that we hit over 101 for Instagram followers. Not to say that like that's like whatever, but the fact that praise be to God that we are spreading love on platforms, on different platforms. So really excited for that. So it's not about the numbers, right? Because that's not what we're here for. We're not here for the numbers per se. But we're here for being able to spread the message of like Black love works.
Yeah. Hey, can we take a pause on the show? I feel like our background is giving dullness, and I think I need that lamp behind me on.
Okay, go for it.
All right, so
I'll just do this.
You'll do. Banged my knee, but I'm okay now.
Okay. All right. So, ready to get into this?
Yeah.
Right, because we trying to stay to an hour. We were already 5 minutes on late getting on because of technical difficulties. But anyway, let's kind of do a recap of what we talked about last week, and then we'll dive right into this week's topic, talking about boundaries, y'all.
What did we talk about last week?
Wow. Okay.
I have no clue. I forgot.
Oh my gosh.
It wasn't religious nuns. We did the last
week.
Sacrifices.
Wow.
Sacrifices. Yes. Sacrifices.
Go for it.
So we were just talking about making sacrifices in marriage and giving up, how much giving up one's goals, one's dreams or aspirations to support the other significant person's dreams and aspirations. And just navigating through that. And I think, you just sharing your story in our situation, in our marriage, and how, the response that you got, the feedback that you got, the amount of people that reached out to you to say like, yo, I am you, or I was you. So how liberating that was. And, at the end of the day, I think we just always, it seems like at every episode when we talk about marriage, we talk about each other, it always goes back to communication.
Communication. That thing, heavy on the communication for sure. Communication and compromise, right? Being able to communicate what your needs are, what you feel you need, what the other person feel they need, and pretty much compromising, saying, you know what, let me do this up until this point, and then boom, then you can do this. Just trying to figure out how it can best work and best fit your marriage. For us, unfortunately, we did not communicate as clearly what it is that we wanted or what I wanted. But we didn't communicate clearly at all. And so as a result of not communicating clearly, there was a lot of resentment. There was a lot of like built up, anger or, stifled feelings, because I felt like if I say something that it makes it feel as though I am dishonoring the call to ministry. And so we talked through all those things, and it was so good to hear, myself even say it out loud, like when between Jamie and I, when we talk about it, it's like, okay, cool. But to kind of say it out loud just brought on this, like, okay, we good.
Yeah.
It was good. It was good. It was good.
It was giving, as the young people would say.
It was giving.
It was
Yes.
giving.
So this week we are tackling another topic. We're tackling another topic that I feel it's necessary in marriage. Like it's necessary for conversations like this to happen in marriage. In relationships, right?
Just to put it like that.
You just period. Right? As individuals, it's so important for us to have boundaries. I've ran into people who do not have boundaries, and seeing what that looks like is kind of rough. Yeah.
So, like, define what do you mean, or what do we mean by boundaries, right? Like, I think there's so many different. I think there's like a whole book series on boundaries in marriage, boundaries in life, boundaries, etc. So, what do you mean by boundaries in a marriage?
Well, if I'm defining a boundary is a line that marks the limit of an area, or like a line, a dividing line. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I feel like there are layers to boundaries that we have in marriage.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I think when we think about boundaries, we think about what do we think about?
I think, when I hear the word boundaries in marriage, I'm thinking about the mere fact in regard to what's okay and what's not okay. Mm-hmm. And that's across the board. Like, what is okay? What is it okay to say to you? What is it okay to say to me? What is okay to do to you? What is okay not? I see it as like an agreement, like you said, to not cross a certain line. Mm-hmm. And I think that boundaries should be established before marriage, or they should be in place before marriage. Mm-hmm. And then you can probably have more in marriage, because how we always say, come see me is different from come live with me. Right. But I think boundaries in marriage are necessary.
Okay. What do you guys think in the comment section? Like, what are your thoughts regarding boundaries? Do you think it's necessary? Period. Do you think that Do you think it should happen before marriage, after marriage? Like, please talk to us. Let us know what your thoughts are regarding boundaries. So I like the way what you said about drawing those boundaries. I think in order for you to draw boundaries or have boundaries or honor each other's boundaries, you have to communicate. There goes that word again. Those boundaries need to be communicated to your partner, right? And I think before they're communicated to your partner, you should have a conversation with yourself and say, you know, what are my boundaries within, like, what am I most comfortable with regarding what it is that you're feeling, what it is that you want or desire, essentially.
So Tiffany, shout out to Tiffany. What's good? She said, one of my clients said boundaries are a form of self-love, and I've adopted that. I ask myself often, how am I loving myself in this relationship and all kinds? And I 100% agree with that, right? Like, I'm wondering if we sometimes think that we don't need boundaries because we're one, right? So it's whatever. Everything goes. You should be cool with it because we married, right? And so I think, like, for us, like, we've always had boundaries set where how we speak to each other.
Yes, that was like super important because I didn't want to ever disrespect you or for you to disrespect me, right? That the boundary of we can say whatever it is that we want to say, but we're not going to yell. We're not going to
or name call. We don't call each other names.
And we don't cuss each other out. Like, we don't use curse words, and we don't cuss each other out in that way.
Right.
Where it begins to make that other person feel this small. Right. Like, we're very careful. It's like we're blunt, right? We keep it blunt. We keep it 100, but it's with love. It's wrapped in love. And I think in order for those boundaries to have been maintained, there has to be a level of trust in terms of, like, I trust that whatever it is that you're sharing with me, whatever it is that you're saying to me, that you are not meaning it for evil, but you're meaning it for my good.
Right. And I think, like you said, so like, I wonder, you know, like, okay, hypothetically, like, while we were dating, and I used to say things to you like, yo, that's you my number one B, you know, and like, yo, you hold it down. You know, if we used to talk to each other like that, be like, yo, you stupid, all of that stuff, right? Then what happens when we get married and then you come, and then I'm saying all that, and then you come at me with, yo, I don't like that, right? I feel like I think that's perfectly fine, but I wonder, like, how does that complicate the relationship if prior to getting married, you was going along with it. Now we married, it's like you different now. Now you trying to say, like, you not cool with it no more. Like, how do you navigate that? Or if that's ever, I don't even know if that's ever been a situation with anybody that's watching or listening right now, where the boundaries have switched up after marriage, right? Or like things are beginning to start getting different.
I think boundaries change, right? Boundaries change based on different situations, different things, different reasoning, different whatever. I think if you are accustomed to hearing your boyfriend or significant other calling you like a B, right? You have to give grace or give that period of time for him or her to reconcile and to try to figure out, like, okay, he or she no longer wants to call me to call them this. So I feel like they just need time to reconcile or to process that change. And grace needs to be given in order for that boundary to be solidified.
Yeah.
And you have to be consistent too. Like, you can't say, right, yo, I'm okay with you calling me a B right, today, and then tomorrow you're like switching it up, and then you're back and forth. That's what I would say.
Right. Melissa Johnson is in the comments. She said boundaries
Melissa.
are a part of self-discovery. You have to learn who you are and what you are willing to accept so that you can clearly communicate that with your partner. So I'm getting a consensus that boundaries are necessary in marriage.
They are. I think in being a human, but I think being a human, it's important for us to establish those boundaries. Because when you don't establish boundaries, right, there's so many different cons, right, that happens when you don't establish boundaries. Relationships, whether friendships or romantic relationships, are basically demolished because you catching feelings. You're saying that you no longer, you're catching feelings about how I'm treating you or what I'm saying to you, and now all of a sudden you're like in your feelings. And so I think there's so much, there can be so many cons to when you don't have those boundaries, right? It can create arguments if those boundaries are not set in place or mutually established, right? There can be stress related to you not setting those boundaries because you're just like, you're kind of going back and forth and it's not healthy. Growing up, I don't think boundaries was something that was talked about often.
No, and I don't know if we use the word boundaries.
What
I think
would we
it
call
was
it?
just like chill. Like it was like, I don't like that. Like I don't know if we ever said. I don't think we use terminology to be like these
boundaries,
are my boundaries.
right? But we did have
boundaries. We did have like, yo, I don't like when you do that, or don't do that again.
Right.
Right. And I think with dating you, I just knew that there were certain things that were just unsaid, if that's a word. Unspoken. There you go. That were just unspoken that I just didn't do. And then I think like what the comments are saying is I had self-respect and respected you. So I don't know if I've ever called you a name or a name outside of your name or groped you in public or grope, basically grope is what it is, or groped you in public, or I don't know, I don't know if anything else, or any way that I've disrespected you in public or in private, to make you feel less than who you are.
Right.
Yeah, I think I always value, and I think that's important with other people when setting boundaries, like the person you are with or the person that you are sharing your relationship with should already come with a certain type of self-respect for you that they're not going to even consider disrespecting you in any type of way.
Right. I agree. I just love the fact that it's self-discovery and a form of self-love.
Yeah.
That's what really boundaries are. Because the more you understand what your boundaries are, the better your spouse can understand and respect those boundaries as well.
Like, I was going to talk about a boundary that we have.
Okay.
Like a boundary I know that we have, and its agreement is that we don't put our dirty laundry out on the street.
Right.
Like, that's one thing that we have agreed with each other. We don't go on social media complaining or like social media where give me advice, Like, nah, we don't do that. We don't even do that we don't even do that outside of social media. Like we don't even go to our friends or anything like that because we believe what happens in our marriage belongs within our relationship.
Yeah.
And we can tough it out. We can figure it out ourselves.
Because oftentimes, and I know that you talk about this when you are marrying during your, when you are doing the
marriage counseling,
not the counseling,
the homily.
And like you would say, you would advise the people that are getting married, like, don't go complaining to your girlfriends about your spouse, or don't go complaining to your boys about your spouse, because chances are when you two have come to an agreement, when you two are good, right? Those people are now looking at your spouse with like side eyeing, or they're looking at your spouse now with this like disdain. While you guys are good, they have not reconciled what the spouse has done, right? And so it's important, though, that's a boundary that we have decided to do from the jump, where we don't like, I don't go talking about Jamie, be like, yo, he is da 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 da, right? We don't do that, and he doesn't do that to me, because we just feel as though sometimes people, and so sometimes because people, it's like you may have moved on, or you may have that challenge or whatever it is that you are going through. People sometimes take things the wrong way, or they spread that joint and be like, well, this is, and they characterize that person as that particular situation. So to kind of keep all the things from being messy and muddy and all those things, we just kind of keep it inside.
I gotta ask you a question. I'm gonna ask you a question.
Wait, before you answer the question, Tamara, what's up, Tamara?
Shout out, Tamara.
Missing you, girl. Okay, she says, yes, I learned that the hard way. I'm so sorry that you had to experience that the hard way. Melissa also says, amen. As a married couple, you are a team, so that should be handled in-house. You have to have each other's back. That's right. Not going and talking about our spouse, badly about our spouse to somebody else.
So
that's a no.
So I have this question, right? The question is phones, right? Is there a boundary when it comes to our cell phones? So is my cell phone, or should my phone be completely accessible to you, and then vice versa? I'm asking you.
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you. I'm asking everybody who's watching, right?
Okay,
like,
let's
like
wait.
Phones.
Let's wait for like before I answer and before you answer. Let's go ahead and have everybody in the comments like just chime in. Go ahead and something is playing. Go ahead and ask. Go ahead and say in the comments what your thoughts are regarding what Jamie just asked.
Yeah.
Should phones be accessible, completely accessible to your spouse, or should it be essentially not accessible?
And for those of you that, I don't know, I saw something that the video ended live on my page, but I'm assuming it's still going on your page because we got 24 viewers. If you're missing us on my page, you can head over to the YouTube, Carlene plus JB, and we're there. And we also got a poll question up there. So if you want to go to that, you can definitely go to that. So what are they saying?
Hi, Johnny. I don't think I've seen your name in the chat before. Welcome.
Yep.
He says it should be open.
Phone should be open.
Yes, and he's like, absolutely.
Okay.
Normal Hunt says phones, yes, accessible, but out of respect, I will not access it. Privacy is nice. I trust my husband. He trusts me.
So that's a boundary that you have set for yourself, right? So there's a self-control component that even though my phone is accessible, the person should have enough trust not to go snooping around in my phone. So the trust is broken. So I'm trying to find a way to say it. You have crossed the boundaries by snooping in my phone.
Yes, I love what Tamara says. Hold on. Tamara says accessible but still have boundaries. Okay. Gina, hey Gina, she says, yes, phones should be completely accessible to partners, passwords and all.
Emails too. Emails, we doing emails, all of that stuff. Emails, text messages, all of that.
Yeah, that should definitely be a, I think the boundary, the boundary of the phones should be discussed, communicated with each other.
Okay.
Like, it shouldn't be like it's automatic. Yeah, I should leave my phone open. Yes, you should know all my my passwords, but don't just assume that it may be accessible, but there still might have boundaries, even though it's accessible. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I think what you're saying is, yes, the phone is accessible. Like, you have the passcode to my phone.
Right.
You can unlock my phone whenever you need to. But the boundary that's within that is that you don't go digging in my phone. At least I hope you're not digging in my phone looking for certain things. Same thing, like, I have access to your phone, but I'm not going in your email. I'm not going in your Instagram, because why? There's trust within that boundary. Right? So
Right.
I think it's accessible, but with boundaries.
Right. Exactly. So again, I think it comes down to the communication piece, right? You have to be able to confront one another if there's an issue surrounding that issue, right? Tiffany says, for me, your phone is your personal property. It shouldn't be. I can never go in, but never without permission. And that's
Yeah.
a boundary. And I think
Yeah, I agree. I think that if I'm giving you the passcode to my phone, I'm actually giving you permission to go inside whenever you need to or whenever you want to. But I'm also trusting that you trust me that you're not going to be going in there and doing something that you shouldn't be doing in there. I think that once that boundary is crossed, then that's an issue that needs to be confronted.
right, there's a trust issue.
There's a trust issue. There's a trust issue because you're not true to yourself and you're not true to me. So that obviously you looking for something to try to catch that other person.
Yeah. Nicole says, it sounds good, but in circumstances where your partner's work requires a certain level of security, it can be sticky. And as I said, like, it really has to be where you decide that for yourself, for your marriage, and not necessarily focus on, well, this person is doing that or that couple is doing that. Nah, you go ahead and create and communicate what your boundaries are, because for some people that joint might be like, having full access may be like, yeah, absolutely, I have nothing to hide. But another person be like, it's not that I don't have anything to hide. It can just be the fact that I need for you to trust me in this space. Miguel says, what's up, Miguel? He says, my phone is open for whatever. Nothing to hide. I feel like the moment we create a mystery around something, it becomes enticing for someone to try to explore it.
It opens up that curiosity.
That's true.
It's like, yo, why your passcode changed?
Right.
Like, why can't go do something? I was trying to do something on I needed your phone. Why is that? So that, yeah, it breeds that. But I still think that in our marriage, if you were to change the passcode on your phone, it would strike curiosity in me. And I'm praying and I'm wondering and I'm hoping that I would have enough courage to confront you and say, yo, I noticed your passcode changed. And to ask the question rather than trying to figure it out. Because, I think that we have that kind of relationship.
Right.
Right? Like what flipped, what changed? And I think it goes back to what you were saying before, that if you switch up boundaries in the middle of the relationship, there should be some sort of communication.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I'm gonna say this, like, if you change the passcode on your phone, I'm gonna be thinking I did something wrong. I must have broken some level of trust that makes you want to turn around and cut me out of that space.
Gotcha. Clear communication.
Right.
Clear communication. I think that's at the foundation of it all. I think also remaining truthful and honest in it, right? Like, yeah, remaining truthful and honest and open about what your desires are. I think that is super. Lead with whatever it is that you are desiring in your heart, and hoping and knowing that, you know, like the person that you married, of course, you pray that they respect. But if they don't, then that's a whole nother issue that you're dealing with. But you would hope and pray that they would respect your boundaries and be able to you know, walk with you through that journey of creating that boundary within the marriage. I think also compromise is important with boundaries too. Not compromising yourself, right? But compromising in a sense where it's like, nah, every single day I need to do this, right? That's my boundary. That's my line. It's a hard line. But I think you also need to give that person the grace, or give them a grace period to kind of adjust to whatever that boundary is. What do you think?
No, I think that's spot on. I think that you can't just set boundaries and not communicate.
Right.
No, you can't just be like,
ooh,
I'm not doing this.
Let me tell you,
and then just drop it.
What do you think happens when those boundaries are not communicated? Like, what are the cons for that?
Well, you opening the door for arguments. You opening the door for. I think you're opening the doors for lack of communication. So even though you're not telling, I'm gonna just use myself as an example. I don't want to speak for anybody else. If you were setting boundaries within yourself without telling me, I think I would probably just stop communicating with you completely. I think like I would just be like, you know what? I don't want to argue. I don't want to talk about it. Just do you. I think it opens up the door for an unhealthy marriage. It's a one-sided relationship. Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good. So I remember, that's right. Rodney says it may make, or you may assume that something else is going on when you don't create that. So I remember a time when we were dating and I didn't feel like Jamie had boundaries with regards to this one particular thing. I'm not going to share what it is, but in this one particular thing, I didn't feel like Jamie had set boundaries, right?
Why are you sharing to protect somebody else? Are you sharing to protect me?
I think it's to protect you. You want to be you want to be protected?
Yo, I'm good. I'm gooch. If you want to share, go ahead and share.
I'm gonna protect you. I'm gonna protect you.
Okay.
I think, I don't know, maybe it'll come out at the end of this. But I remember like there was one particular, a few moments where I felt like Jamie did not have those boundaries established for himself, right? I definitely had those boundaries established for him, right? I felt like these are the things that you should have established for yourself, right? And so it was one of those things like, do I make him aware that these are the boundaries he should have, or should I let him do whatever it is that he's doing and let him face whatever consequence it is?
You know, it's interesting, right? It's interesting. Like I'm just reading my body language. Like when you brought that up, I was sitting like this, and then as soon as you said boundaries that I haven't set, like I crossed my arms.
Oh snap! It's almost like the fence, right?
I'm trying to like what did you talk about? I think I know what you're talking about.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. That I'm not trying to.
No, I think we can talk about it. So what Carlene is talking about,
okay,
is this is prior to our marriage.
Yeah, this is
while we were dating.
This is when we were dating.
That I didn't have boundaries when it came to other women or other young ladies.
Right.
Young ladies in the church that were, I don't believe that they liked me in any way or anything like that. But Carlene just felt like I was too friendly with the opposite sex, or I was letting them be too friendly with me as a pastor. What? As a pastor or just as a person?
As a pastor.
As a pastor. That I was too, I don't want to say welcoming, or I wanted to say I was, let me ask you this question.
So it more
was
felt,
I flirtatious?
No, it wasn't a flirt. I don't know what it was, but I just felt like, it's like you work in the corporate sector, right? In a professional setting, right? You work in a professional setting and you walk into the office and your coworkers, right? There are boundaries that you set. Like you can be like kiki kaka, but there should be a boundary that should be set with your coworkers, right? No matter how cool they are, no matter how much smack y'all talk, like it's there should still be very much boundaries there, right?
Okay, so let's define for the people. Let's define what were some of the things that you saw.
Do we have to really go into detail?
You opened it up.
I know I opened it, but I'm not necessarily wanting to go into detail. I'm just saying that there should have been a boundary that I felt that you should have set for yourself, right? As this is it's not like these are your friends, like these are parishioners, right? And so I think that those boundaries should be set. Been set.
I'm actually hearing two conversations happening right now,
dear.
right? I'm hearing two episodes so one episode is professional boundaries for husbands and spouses, right? Like,
no, but I was giving that as an example.
I know, but I'm saying this. I'm hearing that conversation, and then I'm also hearing the conversation that needs to be had is, what do you do when it seems like your partner is setting boundaries for you? When your partner is projecting what they feel like should be your boundaries, but you feel like, no, I'm good, nothing's going on. Like, this is what it is, right? Like, I'm hearing that's like a whole nother conversation.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Right, that's like a whole nother episode. Like, what do you do when your partner is setting boundaries for you and you feel like you good and then you disagree with your partner's boundaries? That's one. But the other thing,
that's a lot.
Right. But the other thing too is like, what are, I mean, this could be another conversation. It's like men in professional and women, but I think more so men in professional positions, right? Like how should they conduct themselves? Like what is the line in regard to dealing with, and I'm not even gonna say the opposite sex, we're just dealing with other people, right? And like how far does it go? Where do you stop? I think I felt like I always had a limit in regards to, and I know you don't want to go there, but I think
where were we going?
I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna ask you. I'm just asking, was it more about me or was it more about them?
I think it was both.
Okay.
I think it was both. I don't think it was one or the other. I think it was both.
Okay. Now, what I want to put out there is that, like, let's just say nothing ever transpired.
No. Nothing transpired. But I think it was me calling it to your attention made you aware that maybe I should not indulge. That's not the word. That's not the word.
More careful.
You should be a bit more careful about for you, you're thinking kiki kaka. Okay, not kiki kaka. They're probably thinking, I don't know, kiki kaka.
I'm
You
thinking
are
ministry.
thinking like, oh, I'm cool. Like, I'm the coolest pastor that you ever saw. Like, this is what I do, right? He about to
That's
start
obvious.
rapping to them and do all that, right?
I'm the coolest pastor.
I'm like, that's how it looked to me. That's how it looked.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, maybe, I think sometimes in you setting boundaries for yourself, right? So maybe you setting boundaries for yourself help set boundaries for other people. Help other people know this is a line I don't cross. For example, if every time I step out the house and every time somebody walk over here, I'll be like, come on in, right? Like, I don't have boundaries with regards to, but you over here is like, you're probably like, yo, why you keep inviting people to my house? Like, I don't want people in my house, right? And so sometimes when you set boundaries for yourself, it allows you to set boundaries for other people.
Yeah.
Or I don't like how that sounded. That didn't sound too good.
No. I think what you're saying, or correct me if I'm wrong, what I'm hearing is when you set boundaries for yourself, it automatically communicates to people where the line is.
Right.
Like, so you're not setting boundaries for them, but you're letting them know that this is the fence.
Right.
You can't come across the fence unless I open it for you. Now, I just want to say this for the record, before you read the comment, for the record, everything that Carlene has said to me while we were dating and in our marriage, and when I look back or when I listen to her, something would happen, I'll be like, oh, snap, I didn't even know that. Because you saw things that I couldn't see. I'll be like, dang, I wasn't even thinking that. And then
I think actually Rodney said something like that. Rodney said sometimes men don't see stuff our spouses can see and vice versa. I've learned to trust my spouse on this stuff.
Yeah. Because I'm out here, I'm the cool pastor.
You're the cool pastor. You won't be. Don't be making fun of me.
I'm not making fun of you.
That's a boundary. No, I'm just kidding. Sister Hunt says, I am something of such, but Jamie, you are absolutely right. Those would be my boundaries. All right, let me read Yvonne's. What's up, Yvonne? She says, this is a hot topic of understanding where each person are within their own boundaries. This can be very subjective as people have different perceptions of where their personal boundaries are. A couple will have to have discussions that will create appropriate boundaries suitable for building a respectable foundation.
1,000%. And I think like our boundaries necessarily don't translate to other.
Oh yeah, we
like,
should probably just put that that disclaimer.
What we're just saying is that it is vital that you have communication about the boundaries that you set, because for some couples it's cool that they cool with calling each other names and arguments, they cool with all that stuff, and if that works for them, whatever floats your boat, by all means.
Whatever happens in your house stays in your house.
My house,
facts,
our house.
Right. I'm about to say my house. Okay. That's a boundary. Okay. So Tiffany says, I don't set boundaries for anyone else, especially my partner. I communicate how a behavior might violate my boundaries and my concerns around it. I expect there to be an appropriate response to my concerns, even if the boundary setting looks different.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the latter part is so important, because what if the other partner is like...
Facts, Tiffany.
What if the other partner is just like, you crazy? Or like...
I think sometimes, I'm sure in some situations, things can really, like, people can be paranoid.
True.
It can be like straight paranoia, where it's like somebody just talks to their spouse and it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's like a whole nother story.
That's the trust issue. Like, that's the trauma.
That's taking it to the next level.
And all that other stuff.
Yeah, but I think that if you know, like, if you see something, you say something, right? Just like in New York City. So Rodney has a question. He says, did you feel disrespected by the other woman? No, I didn't feel disrespected. And we weren't married. So I feel too like I didn't want to create I don't want to create something for it was not about, I don't think it was about me. Okay, let me stop lying. Maybe it was about me a little bit, but it was more about him. Like I was more or less like, at the time, I felt like I was more looking out for him in terms of like, how does this look if he's doing this, or if he's acting like this, how does it look to other people? Right. And of course, back then I was very much like, shun the very appearance of evil. Right. Or like that mindset saying like, just be very careful that you don't, what is it? What's the thing that West Indian people are always saying? That you don't something unawares, like you don't.
I'm not West Indian, so I wouldn't know.
I can't with you right now.
I'm American.
Jesus. What's up, Gary? He says it's difficult as a pastor, church leader, who should be accessible amongst the people who feel that everything and everyone, especially the pastor at church, is available for their needs. Facts.
Man, Gary, thank you. Thank you for saying that. Because in ministry, pastoral ministry, and that's all we get, and I think it translates across the board. Going back to last week's conversation, that I had to learn how to set boundaries to protect our marriage, that I don't have to say yes to being at everybody's gathering.
No, let me stop. Okay, yeah, right.
Like at everybody's gathering where I'm neglecting my family, right? So I think like there's a boundary that I have to set with churches to let them know that's my wife and that's my family. They are priority.
Right, family first.
Yeah. Like, so definitely that point there. But I think like to the point that Carlene is raising, and she uses the kiki kaka. She was just talking about like, I was trying to be the cool youth pastor, right? And just being cool and talking and joking and spend a lot of, not a lot of time, but just very, I wouldn't say playful, but not playful to the point where I'm like the grabbing each other and hugging each other from the front and stuff like that. And I think, I'm assuming, and I'm thinking, what I've realized throughout the time from a woman's perspective, you were looking at it like, yo, you're being a little bit unprofessional because it could be like you're opening a door that you're going to have trouble closing because that may not be your intention, but I'm seeing something that's happening on the other end. Yeah,
because once you kind of like, especially when you're dealing with young people, right? Sometimes their wires be all crossed.
Right.
Sometimes they're emotional, whatever their perspective. Sometimes it be, I don't know what, I know I was like that too, right? Sometimes. But I think for the most part, like, it's very important for them to kind of have that example of, okay, this is something that is appropriate or not appropriate, right? Those are all things that you would with hesitation say or do, right? And I know that you want to be cool, you want to be whatever, but I don't know. It made me feel like, yeah, that's not cool. I don't think I said like, I don't think I made you feel like don't joke or don't be the cool pastor.
No.
But it was just more or less just like, just be vigilant, right? Not just to kind of just be like, whatever, just be vigilant.
Be sober.
Be sober. Be vigilant. But anyway.
Because the enemy, the shorties, be like a roaring lion seeking to devour. Now,
oh my gosh. But there's so many, go ahead.
No,
sorry.
I was going to say though, for everything that you have given me warnings about, something happened and I was like, okay, all right, gotta go the other way, right? Like
as Tiffany said, what she said,
time,
you guys don't be knowing
itself.
nothing. You guys be all on this, I'm blind, I don't see anything. I don't even know what's happening. Oh my gosh, like, but I think that, Okay, so let's go to Yvonne. What she says. Yvonne says it can be triggers, insecurity, caution, discernment, integrity, pride, protection. The list can go on into eternity. Facts. It can be for sure. For sure. For sure. Okay, so like one of the things that we talked through recently. So one of the reasons why we came up with this topic came to be. Jamie is actually reading the book
Boundaries.
And it was so like mind-blowing for him. And I don't know if you want to share not necessarily what it is that you were walking through in that moment or not going through what you were reading, but if you can just, talk through like what the book was talking about with regards to the boundaries. Do you remember?
It was so much. Remind me, trigger my brain a little bit in regard to.
So it was given the example of a young man who basically his parents divorced or something like that. And he basically had to step in as the adult. And he's been like taking care of his siblings and he's just kind of always doing. So now those siblings are grown ups now. And so he finds him playing that very same role and being the one that's always being called on, that's always providing support for the family. And so not until I guess he met this person, that's where they started talking about boundaries and how he can set those boundaries in order for him to be able to, be free from that instant, like every time they call, I have to go, being able to set those boundaries.
No. That I think the part that that really resonated with me with that chapter was when she was given the example of that same young man and how he never set boundaries growing up, that he was always the savior for everybody. And his fear of sending boundaries because he couldn't be that anymore, how it became a problem in his relationships.
Right.
Because he didn't know how to set boundaries. He didn't know how to say no. And then when he finally started saying no, the people in his family started cutting him off because they're like, who is this? Right. Like, who is you? That's not you. And so like how he has not been able. She gave the example of how this young man has not been able to stay in a relationship because he did not know how to establish boundaries.
Yeah. So it just talked about how it trickles into so many things.
Right.
So many things. So,
right. I want to get the title. I want to get the right name of the book so I can recommend it.
Isn't it called Boundaries?
Like it's called Boundaries, but I want to get them the author because there's a whole lot.
Oh, I thought it was the Boundaries series.
No, it's not the boundary. Yeah,
it's not that?
It's not that.
Oh, okay.
Setting Boundaries, Find Peace.
Oh, Set Boundaries, Find Peace by
Nedra Glover.
Tawab.
And it's a guide to reclaiming yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what he read. And I was just like blown away, like, whoa, boundaries is something that I think now we talk a lot about, but I don't think we highlight how important it is consistently, how important it is for us to really have self-love to be able to say, I can't, or, this is my limit. This is how far I can go, or this is my line that I've drawn, respect it.
Yeah. And I love the title of the book, right? A Guide to Reclaiming Yourself. And I think boundaries is self-renewal, self-actualization, self-realization. So it's really about being authentic to yourself and being true to yourself and just saying what I like and what I don't like, which I feel has been kind of contrary in modern Christianity or in what I've grown up to be taught.
You about to get into there.
And what sometimes the church promotes, where it's like, no, you're supposed to give all. You're supposed to come to the prayer. You have to be at the prayer breakfast. You have to stay until 1 a.m. at the board meeting because this is God's work. But if you have boundaries,
Right.
you would be like, this board meeting starts at 8. I'm leaving at 9:30.
Right.
Right. And because when you don't have boundaries, you are giving
That's good,
yourself
Jamie.
away to people to take advantage of you. Like, there's a reason why there's a fence around the White House.
That's it right there. Ooh. Happy Sabbath, Pastor Alexander. But yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's really it's boundaries. Man, I think this conversation is helping us realize, or helping me realize, boundaries is more about me than it is about you.
Yeah. And I think that's what Tiffany and Melissa talked about, that self-love piece, where it's really about you knowing what you want and being able to draw that line.
Yeah.
But to your point where you talk about church, I feel like it's hard to set those boundaries because it feels as though like this is the Lord's work. In the name of the Lord's work, doing God's work, that there should not be boundaries set. You should say, if I ask you to be AY leader, if I ask you to be head of this department, it should be a yes. It should not be no, right? Because this is the Lord's work. But it's interesting. I wonder if the builders and the boomers understand that concept, because it just feels as though some of them are so led by this thing of like, I have to serve the church, versus like our generation and younger. They're like, yo, I don't want to.
Yeah.
You know, I'm prioritizing myself. I'm prioritizing whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm refusing to.
Yeah, I think builders definitely built the system or built the infrastructure. I think that the boomers put in the rules and regulations of how it's supposed to be ran. So, like, like builders, builders are probably dying out or they're at retirement. So they're pretty much stuck in their way. Boomers are nearing retirement, but boomers are very committed to sticking to doing one thing and sticking to it and putting everything into it. I think Gen X and millennials, we're more of the generation, or we feel like it's time to not put so much faith in institutions, but really to take care of ourselves, because institutions have failed us. Institutions have not been there for us. They have betrayed us. So I think that's why you'll hear, social media is a lot about me, right? It's a lot about, people on social media sharing, and now, therapy is cool and counseling is cool, and, podcasts and what we're doing is cool. So I do think that there is a slight nuances or vast nuances and changes between generations, which is a reaction to everything before it. Right? So I think like boomers work. Our parents worked 3-4 jobs to set all this stuff up. And I think we I'm not giving 30 years to one job. I'm going to be looking for another job as soon as I get a job.
Facts.
I'm going to be always looking for something else to do because I'm not sticking with one place. A boomer is going to retire in that job that they had for umpteen years, no matter how much they don't like it, no matter how much it gets on their nerves, they going to retire doing that. Our generation, and especially the generation after us, I be looking at like, how are you able to switch jobs so often?
Right. Like they don't play. They don't play with their time. They're like, yo, if it's not doing this, and this, I'm out.
Right. And they about their self-healing too.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling you. You're not giving. Your vibe is off. I'm leaving here.
Right. On to the next.
Yeah.
Oh man, you are right. You were right about that. Gamal was saying that, as a pastor, a single pastor, it was really hard for him to have those boundaries. But now he has that he's married, praise him, that he feels that it's much easier to have those boundaries honored and set. So that's what's up. All right, getting married is
Getting married.
A boundary.
If you're serious about who you are married to, you will set your boundaries.
It's true. It's true. this has been a great conversation. We're at an hour, which is, it goes by so quickly when you're having fun, essentially. But this conversation has been
Giving.
it's been amazing. And I think what it comes down to, again, I think every topic that we've had this series essentially has been heavy on the communication, right?
Yeah.
Like it really makes the difference. And I also want to tag to this. It's important for you individually to do the work, right? It is important for you yourself and I to do the work that requires you to know what boundaries it is that you want, what you want for yourself, what you want for your life. Doing the work of learning how to communicate that effectively and efficiently, not hiding or as the West Indians say, smalling up yourself, right? Like creating this thing where, you put your needs above the other, right? And yeah, just period. I think that's really important. I think these conversations has taught me how important my voice is and how important it is for me to know what my boundaries are and to set them and to communicate them to you constantly, because they change. So yeah.
Yeah, I think you summed it up excellently. There's nothing I would add or take away to it. I agree that the communication part, like if you are in a relationship with somebody that you can't be yourself and you can't be free enough to express yourself about your needs, about your desires, about your wants, about how you feel, then you don't have a relationship. You just got relations. You ain't got a ship. It ain't going nowhere.
The ship has sunk.
That's right.
Probably.
You got a Titanic.
What?
That's what you got. You just bought a Titanic because it's gonna fail, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna have one person miserable while the other person is getting everything that they want.
Yeah. And that is a hard no.
Right. And boundaries are not only out in the public, they're also in the bedroom.
We didn't even get to talk about that.
Yeah, boundaries are also in front of the children. Boundaries are also in front of other people. But you have to communicate. You can't. There is no relationship that doesn't work without communication.
Right. Well,
No successful, healthy marriage that works without communication.
healthy communication.
Yeah.
Because you can have communication, right? There are different forms of communicating.
Right. There are different forms of communicating. And then also, I come from a divorced marriage. You come from a divorced marriage. So I don't even know what communication looks like in a marriage where it's like, I've heard people share stories with me where like their mother and father were married, but they didn't really talk to each other. Like it was just like, it just became
Silence.
like an agreement, right? Like the agreement is we're going to stay together because this is the vows we took, but we don't have to talk and do all of that stuff. So I don't even know what that looks like, right? Because I'm saying
miserable.
yeah, there are probably relationships where they're not talking to each other. They just living, surviving, right? So I don't know what I'm saying, but I don't know what I'm saying, but what I'm saying is this, is that you set your boundaries within your marriage and what works for you. What works for you may not, there's not a cookie cutter across the board blueprint for every marriage.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it does boil down to communication.
Communication.
A form, a level, a type of communication.
Healthy communication. I keep putting healthy communication because you can communicate and be yelling at each other and no one is heard and no one feels like they're being heard. So I think healthy communication is key, where you listen and you respond in a respectful manner, in a respectful tone. I think it doesn't matter whatever it is that you're communicating. Like, I can't believe we missed the sex piece, because I think we really needed to talk about, like, not that we really needed to, but just talk about how boundaries in the bedroom can also be important.
Well, I'll say this. Part 2 next week. Boundaries in the bedroom.
Maybe. We'll see.
Let us know in the comments if that's the next conversation. Hit us up during the week. Send us a DM. Follow us on Instagram, Carlene plus Jamie. You can get at us there. YouTube, Carlene plus Jamie. Also, we forgot to let them know we did a bonus episode.
Oh, you put it up?
I'm about to put it up tonight.
I thought you put it up already.
Nah, we got a bonus episode that's going to go live tomorrow that we recorded after last week's session because of all of the comments that we got about it. And we get deeper into my story about abandonment and rejection and how that felt. So that's exclusive. That's on the podcast. It'll be up live tomorrow morning.
But in order for you to be able to hear it, do you have to subscribe?
You do have to subscribe.
Okay, well, there you have it.
Yep.
We know that you're going to be able to subscribe in order to hear it. But right. Tiffany, thank you so much for sharing that. She says, or you're just using the silent treatment to communicate your feelings. Silence speaks. Listen.
Silence speaks volumes.
Silence speaks volumes. Mm-hmm. Jamie hates when sometimes I go silent, because I feel like if I don't go silent, I'm probably going to say something that I'm going to regret. So sometimes silence is good.
And I respect it.
In terms of gathering your thoughts, but silence shouldn't be used as a tool to where you're starting to manipulate the situation, where you're trying to say, like, I'm going to use this as a tool to punish them. Yeah, that's
right.
where it's like borderline. Nah, you bugging.
Right. So we already got one person. Atheniel says yes, part 2. So
okay,
we'll see.
I think Yvonne said let's do it.
Okay.
So that's 2 out of 34. Okay.
It's all good.
2 out of 34 people. But I think that may be a part 2. Okay. So part 2 next week, probably. And we'll talk about sex and what does boundaries look like with sex in the bedroom, and what do boundaries look like with children.
Boundaries.
How to keep them boundaries with them kids, or how to teach your kids boundaries, right? Like, how do you teach them how to effectively communicate what their boundaries are, and being able to respect them, even though they are your children, and you've been taught that children shouldn't have boundaries, or I grew up basically like children has boundaries, but we don't really honor that, right? Because they're children. What do children know? But how do we do that? How do we do that in this house? How do we honor our kids' boundaries when they say whatever they say? When they say whatever it is that they say, whatever they're communicating to us, how do we honor the boundaries as well? And how do they honor ours? How do they honor ours?
Do kids have boundaries?
Kids have boundaries, but how do they honor our boundaries, where we're just like, no.
How do we honor their boundaries? Do they give us boundaries, or do we give it to them? That's next week. We're not talking about it tonight. Next week. Bedroom and pick-me. That's the episode next week. Bedroom and the pick-me.
Please do not. Please.
Yo, vote. Let me see if you like the next week's title.
They're going to like it because they want to be silly. But what?
What? It's bedroom and the pick-me.
No, Jamie.
Bedroom and the children.
O-M to the G. Guys, this is what I got to live with every day, all day, every day. And I wouldn't change it for the world. You hear me? I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yes.
Okay. Did it work?
It worked, but I pushed the wrong button at the first.
Great.
But it's all good. Yo, we love y'all. We thank you for rocking with us. See,
no, he's just saying pick-me, because how dare you call my children pick-me? Pick-me. Is it pick-me or pick-me?
Pick-me.
But I thought you weren't West Indian.
You know what? I have a lot of West Indian friends. Yo, I'm Jamie.
This is Carlene. You guys have a phenomenal weekend. We love you all. Thank you so much for your support. We'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
3, 2, 1.